What's up guys, my name is Aaron and this is giving me my review of the first season of Scream. This is an MTV show. It's a reimagining of the basic plot of the Scream movies. It's about the serial killer who starts targeting these high schoolers in this small, sleepy, rich type of town. And then the lead, Emma, is trying to figure out who that killer is because there might be a personal secret about this killer that might attach themselves to her. I'm a huge fan of the Scream movies. I'm not a huge horror fan in general, but I do like the Scream movies. I like kind of the deconstruction of horror movie tropes that they do. I was cautious to see what this would be, and I didn't really enjoy it at all. Some things that I did enjoy, I like some of the acting in the show. Brooke, who's played by Carlson Young, she's kind of like the generic mean girl at the beginning of the show. She's played pretty well by Carlson Young, but the character is so unlikable and so devoid of anything that you really can't feel anything for her. But as the show goes on, they kind of give her more of a backstory, and whenever they do that, it kind of reveals why she's like the way she is, and that's kind of interesting. And the actress does a really good job, like kind of making you feel for her, so much in a way that I would almost want the show to be focused on her. Noah, who's played by John Karna, who pretty much looks like Dylan O'Brien to me. He's like this like nerdy, geeky type of guy that knows all about pop culture, video games, TV shows, movies, stuff like that. He kind of makes fun of like horror movies and stuff as the show goes on. I felt the actor was pretty good, even though the role was kind of generic. I feel like the best actor on the show was Taylor-Klaus, who plays Audrey. I've seen her in Arrow, and I thought she was pretty good on that. She's just a very naturally talented actress. She really does make you feel for her character. She's kind of like an outcast in this community. It's a really generic type of role, but she gives a lot of depth to the role, and I felt like you do care for her, even though the role is kind of generic. Again, this is another character that you could literally base this show on, and I would probably feel more for the show. I do like the production value on this. It's an MTV show, but it doesn't feel like as cheap as some of the shows do on MTV. They have a lot of different varied sets. They have a abandoned bowling alley, they have an abandoned hospital, the school, the police station, all those places seem really real, and I enjoy like visually like looking at it and stuff. And I felt that some of the death set pieces were really good. I don't want to get into spoilers a lot, but there isn't a lot, but whenever they do a death scene, it's pretty well done most of the time. And because these characters for the most part aren't really likable, it's satisfying to see some of these people die. That's pretty much the only good things I could see with this show. One of the major things I didn't like about the show was that most of the acting was either mediocre or just really bad. I feel like most of the actors are really okay, like the parents, the adults, and then some of the kids too, like Jake, I forgot what his name is in real life. I feel like those actors are okay. They don't give like outstanding performances to their roles, and they're kind of generic, so you kind of forget about those people. I feel like Will, who's played by Will, he's Emma's ex-boyfriend in the show. He's given like a really awful role. He's not like a likable person at all, and then the actor who's playing him is just very flat and very bland, and you don't feel anything for him at all, but this character is still doing terrible stuff and you don't really buy it, but like it's just a really weird mix, and it just comes off as really unlikable. Kieran, who's played by Amadeus Serfani, he's kind of like the mysterious new guy that comes to town, and he like gets an attraction to Emma. I felt like even though the actor looked the part, he was pretty bland, and whenever he came on screen, I kind of tuned out because this actor wasn't really that great. Also, Emma, who's played by Willa Fitzgerald, I felt like she was really bad. She's not a great actress at all. She's really bland. You don't care for the character at all, and the character is kind of generic, but I just felt like she wasn't a good actress at all, and it was really like hard for me to feel sympathy for her at all. I felt like the writing was very generic and kind of cliched on this show, which is a surprise, like seeing like the legacy where the show came from. The dialogue on the show is very cheesy, very cliched. It doesn't feel like an actual teenager would say these things. It's like unforgivably really bad. I feel like the actors are so thinly written that in some cases some of the actors have to do all of the heavy lifting to make you care about them. Like Carlson Young with Brooke, like she's doing a lot of things to make her character sympathetic. I thought the killer was really obvious too. Like by episode 5, I knew who the killer was, and it was just really obvious to me. They kept on like piling more evidence and stuff like that, and it just made it, even that aspect of the show was kind of flat for me because I knew who the killer was and it didn't stray from what I thought. I think the biggest problem with this show is that it takes itself so seriously, and it's kind of a disgrace to the legacy in that case. The Scream movies are really, really fun. They're a fun deconstruction of these horror movie tropes, and even though this show tries to do that with the character Noah, 95% of the show is just very flat and taken very seriously. And I feel like with a show like this, like a teen drama show, you have to kind of play with it to make it a little bit more interesting. For example, the show Bates Motel, even though it's not really, it's a teen drama, I guess, in theme, but in the beginning of the show they didn't really have a lot going on. It really was kind of struggling to kind of find his voice, but the actress Vera Farmiga, who plays Norma on the show, she was really, really spectacular. She had great lines on the show, and she made the show a must watch every single week. And with this show, you don't have anybody like that, even close to that level. Also on the show Scream Queens, which is really like this show, I thought the show was a mess kind of plot wise, but I can't say that I wasn't entertained by the show because there were a lot of funny people and a lot of funny situations, and the show was very interesting to me. The character Denise Hemphill, who was played by Niecy Nash, she was really good. She was like a natural like deconstruction of the really dumb cop characters that are in these movies and stuff, and she did a really good job with the role. And Chad Radwell, who was played by Glenn Powell on the show, he did a really, really good job. He's like a preppy rich kid on the show, and he's just like an absolute bully. He's mean to everybody, but it's like he's giving so much to the show, like it almost feels like a parody level. Like it's so funny, like how much he's giving to this role. There's nothing like that on Scream at all, and that's a really disappointment because the movies were really entertaining and this show isn't that entertaining at all. And I felt like there was no levity on the show at all, and even when they do try, it just falls flat. Like there was really nothing that I found really funny that kind of lightened the mood at all. Overall, I didn't think this was a really good show. I thought some of the actors were good on the show. I felt like the characters, Brooke, Noah, and Audrey, I felt like the actors did a really good job and they kind of made me care for the characters, even though they were kind of generic and kind of thinly written. I like the production value on the show. It does feel like a small town that realistically seems like it would like exist. And I also thought some of the death set pieces were cool, and then I really liked it when they happened to characters that I didn't really like. But overall, this show really disappointed me. I thought the acting was just mediocre or just bad. In particular, Emma, who's the lead of the show, you can't really have the lead actress or actor on the show be terrible, and I felt like she was just really bad. I felt like the writing on the show was generic and unforgivably bad, and I also thought that the show took itself too seriously and didn't have any levity at all, and it just made it for a really bland, disappointing type of watch. Overall, I would give it a 3 out of 10. I might not be the best person to kind of go over this because I'm not like a huge MTV fan, so maybe their shows are more like this, but I just didn't think this was that great at all. I would recommend watching the movies maybe, or watching Scream Queens, because I feel like at least that show is entertaining on like a visual and like it's just an entertaining show. Yeah, so what did you guys think? Did you like the show? Did you hate the show? Let me know in the comments what you thought. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the review. Thanks guys. Bye.